Greek businesses have been struggling to survive during the country's long economic crisis. They've fired staff and cut salaries. The survivors have now become more competitive, but they say bankers and politicians have failed them. John Soropoulos reports.
The earth of Mount Parnassus may be poor for cultivation, but at its heart, the mountain is rich. Bauxite is the raw material for aluminium, and there's so much of it here that Aluminium of Greece has become one of Europe's biggest smelters. Last year, it sold $500 million worth of aluminium metal and byproducts. 3/4 of those sales were from exports. They brought much-needed capital into the country and kept 1,500 jobs going. It's the sort of company Greece needs more of, but the owner of this plant says the crisis has left Greek businesses increasingly isolated.
We realized it was nowhere we could turn to. There were no banks that could finance anything. There was no government that we could discuss the problems because the government of the day was so much involved in running the crisis. We decided that all we could rely on was us.
As falling aluminium prices forced many European smelters to close, Mυτιληναίος slashed costs.
Mounting costs threatened this plant with closure a decade ago. It's still operating because the Mυτιληναίος group, which bought it at the time, invested more than $300 million, increasing productivity and cutting costs by a third. But the biggest expense, up to 40% of the cost of aluminium, remains inelastic, and that is electricity.
Aluminium smelting's only affordable if the power is extremely cheap. But Greek governments have protected the public power corporation's monopoly for votes while keeping electricity prices to industry high. The pain of adjustment instead rolls onto the shoulders of industry and workers who absorb pay cuts.
My take-home pay is about €1,000, but that's with overtime and weekends. The salary looks good on paper, but the deductions are very high for health and social security and for our union.
Greek banks can no longer finance business. State bureaucracy remains rigid and corporate taxes have risen from 20 to 29%.
If you think that the public services, the public administration, or even the governments will help you and support you in an investment in Greece, it's not the case.
Greek politics tend toward populism. Over several decades, that has led to high debt and expensive government. Neither has helped the people, who are now forced to do things for themselves. John Soropoulos, Al Jazeera, at the foothills of Mount Parnassus in central Greece.